My name is Tanya Curry, and this is this week's Scratch the Surface. It's called The Great Reset, Ambush Showreels and Madiba Magic. The nation was on the edge of their seats. Among them, people I know who literally recorded it and avoided the headlines so they wouldn't know the end of the actual match. Well, I say match. It wasn't a match. It was the Great Reset. Trump versus Ramaphosa. Finally. I'm Tanya Curry. Before we start, I have something to say before I unpack this blockbuster of the year. I write many controversial pieces, which on occasion cause people to raise their eyebrows at me. It's either for my criticism of government, or it's because I have opinions about other political parties and people. Some ventilate their distaste on social media, and I've even had my business threatened for my pro-Palestinian stance. But every single time I debunk the myth about white farmer genocide, I receive death threats. Every time. Real names on Facebook with no shame whatsoever, telling me that they wish I get raped, that they wish I would feel the cold metal of a gun against my head, and others wish ill on my family. To those haters, thanks for the engagement figures. Are you here this week listening, watching, reading? Here we are, my dear country. The Great Reset. Standing outside the Vitesse, someone was late. Now, I don't know if it was the president or if it was King Trump, but someone was late. One of the guards fainted. That was quite funny. Sorry. We can all relate. I felt like I was going to faint a lot. When our president did arrive, the greeting was so quick that only one South African news house actually caught it. You had the other two were left saying, did he shake his hand? Didn't he shake his hand? Did it happen? Has it happened?
My visual is a bit blocked here, so I'm trying to.
And the pair of peasants going.
So the president didn't arrive? Trump didn't meet him? Oh, it was President. Oh, okay, confirmed. President Trump did meet President Ramaphosa. My apologies for that, guys. Everything just got blocked from the angle that I was positioned at.
My country is a movie, The Great Reset. A quick photo op it was indeed. Trump was having a bad hair day. It's fine, it happens to all of us. Cyril looked amazing. I told you he's a snappy dresser. He wore a red tie and Trump wore a blue one, which I thought was strange. Maybe they had a phone call during the car drive and that's why there was a little bit of tardiness. Perhaps. Who knows? I'm going to leave it there. That was the beginning of the Great Reset. It wasn't long, and there they were, packed like sardines in a bait ball, ready to be served to a great white. The Oval Office needs an expansion plan. Stat. It was great to see all the South African journalists in the room. Ziyanda Ngobo, hey friend. I've seen you come from the trenches of community radio, doing news reading and weather, and look at you in the Oval Office giving the guns. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of all the South African journalists. They were outstanding. And there you are, guys, speaking to who is arguably the most influential man in the world. Bravo. The entourage was a thing to behold. Here stood two golfers, Ernie Els and Goosen, I kid you not, alongside the richest man in South Africa, a man that some may say is the very epitome of white monopoly capital. A man that you can definitely call Julius's nemesis, Johann Rupert himself. I thought, this is going to be brilliant. My heart was thumping so hard. I looked harder. There was Ronald Lamola, the head of DIRCO and Israel's target.
In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed.
Right.
Then Kusatu's first female president, Zingizwa Lozi. Wow. And Steenhuisen, my personal favorite. Cupcake was first out the gate, gushing and as sweet as molasses. He introduced his crew, saying that Trump had asked for the golfers to come. That is a true story. And he had delivered them. Trump raised one eyebrow and said that our president had not brought all his golfing buddies because Gary Player wasn't there.
When I spoke to you, you said, yes, come along and bring Gary Player, bring any else, and Retief Goosen. I brought the two of them. Gary Player, I spoke to him, and he said, look, I'm getting rather on in my years, but wishes us luck in this discussion with you.
Cyril had to explain that Gary is a little old for this roller coaster of devotees. The chap is 89. To salvage Gary Player's age, though, and the appetite for rabble-rousing, Matamela said he had a gift in the form of a 14-kilogram book of beautiful images of South Africa's golf courses.
And I brought you a really fantastic golf book. Weighs 14 kilograms.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it showcases the golf courses in our country.
Of course, Trump loved that. MAGA people are so strange. Good equals big, bigly.
It's happening bigly. Bigly.
The question started and Annika Larson threw the first punch. Of course she did. What would it take for Trump to be convinced that there was no white genocide in South Africa? Ramaphosa leaned across and said, I can answer that for President Trump.
Mr. President, this time, what would it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that for the President. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me-
Thank you, Mr. President.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on the around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
Balls of steel, man. And Trump let him. And that's when Madiba Magic entered the room. He's still with us, that giant legend of a man. That incredible presence is still around. And you could hear Mandela's words come through President Ramaphosa when he said, it will take President Trump to listen. Madiba Magic, right there. My president. The Great Reset. Game on! This was not going to be a Zelensky show. We are South Africans and we do things differently. We knew we weren't out of the woods, but we had hope and had to almost dismiss this potential roasting of a cupcake. And then it happened. Trump called for articles and he told them to turn down the lights. That could never have been good. Cyril shifted in his seat. They wheeled in a massive telly and it was loud and clear. Pa, pa, pa. sorry, Julius, in all his glory. Cupcake smirked. Well, but I mean, I had the same knee-jerk reaction. I laughed. And we all did. Like, to be honest, like, you cringed too. It's Julius, man. I'm surprised the whole of the South African crew didn't shake their heads or smile. Well, actually, they did. Sorry. Okay, we can't help it. The guy's a clown. Like, once he was a serious politician. Now he's just a guy we chuck out of Parliament regularly. Trump should meet Steve Hofmeyr. You know, he's the same. We just shake our heads at these people and we get on with our day. Yet here, with his red beret, he takes center stage in the Oval Office, a headline act. And Elon's stare and glare could be felt from Washington all the way to Sudwana Bay. Sorry. And this is hectic. Then there was the memorial of the farm deaths that took place in 2020 that flashed across the screen. Trump changed this narrative to suit the theatrics of politics because that's what was going on here, and he called it a burial ground. I honestly thought that what we were watching was Life Isidameni. That's what I thought in the beginning, and then I remembered this very effective farm murders campaign. It's not new. This happened in 2020. It was very effective. Ramaphosa was shocked. Obviously, there's a familiar emotion for old Rama. He asked where this was, and Trump said, South Africa. Goodness, what a show.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. I don't. Okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa, that's where.
We'll need to find out.
That was the elbow to the ribs, but our president breathed deep despite the ambush, and next came out the articles, a whole pack of them. Now, this is my neck of the woods. Newspaper articles are my thing, man. They really are. And I can tell you for sure, one of those articles was about a mass burial of women in the Congo. I think what they did is they Googled murders in Africa and forgot the South Africa bit and forgot like the farmer bit, because on there also there was some stuff from the Daily Mail and several reports about the Americanas, about people leaving, which is like, that's yesterday's headlines. It's got nothing to do with the actual farm murders themselves. And there were a couple of farm murder articles in there. And I want to take this opportunity before you come and you threaten me or my family. Hear me once and hear me for all, okay? Farm murders exist. Most are heinous, but not all are on white people. Sometimes black people get fed to pigs. Sometimes they get chucked to lions, dragged behind buckies. Other times, white people get their throats slit and blood is smeared across the walls. Murder most foul. All of it. In other parts of the country, women who are 8 months pregnant get hanged from trees and their bellies stabbed repeatedly. Others get burnt alive in their beds. All of it, murder most foul. That's not a race or a geolocation thing. It's a South African thing. And it has to stop. Black, white, male, female, farmer or media monitor, it doesn't matter. Enough of this incessant, revolting crime. And what the hell has it got to do with Trump? Okay, rants over and back to the Oval Office. The showreels stopped, and then it was time to answer questions. And this is where South Africa shone. But first, a word on Jumping John. He's not jumping anymore. I mean, apart from the middle age spread, like all of us, have you noticed a change in John? I have. He's less Zilla and more Ramaphosa. Have you noticed? Anyway, John explained that he was from the opposition and couldn't let an opportunity like this get away, to say that he, as the DA, they are the reason why idiots like Juju don't get into power. He bent the truth a little because, to be fair, it is because Ubaba and Julius don't get along that they're not in Parliament, but we'll let that slide. Then the golfers spoke. I'm going to skip that, but because I don't do sports, and neither of them made a great impression on me. But enter Johan Rupert, the hero of South Africa. The hero of South Africa. He mopped up any doubts and put the room to rights, and even I had a small crush, would you believe? What was that? He was absolutely incredible. Incredible. Even South Africa is calling for him to be president next and for Julius to sit down because he's tired. That's true. And I'm not just talking about the MAGA crowd, I'm talking about South Africa. He pointed a finger at Steenhuisen, saying that he was in charge of the Western Cape and that the Cape Flats are shocking, they're terrible, filled with gangs, he said.
Marched on the
But
farm.
the crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steenhuisen won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare. Like your M33 or whatever, these guys. We've got equivalents there. But we need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
He said that Julius hates him the most, but even he isn't interested in Juju at all. He's interested in resolving the terrible crime in our country. You go, Johan. Yeah, man. Love it. And then our Queen of Africa. She spoke like an angel. She summed up all my thoughts. She was like a voice I haven't heard in my country for a long time. Zingizwa Lozi, where have you been all our lives? You put a lid on that pot while the others turned down the heat. You took that pot off the flame and you did it with grace. You spoke for every South African woman, and we salute you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Trump,
Thank you.
for having us, and President for extending the invitation to us as organized labor. And I must say that we are here to support the initiative that has been made by our government with business, of course, as organized labor. We've been coming to Washington on the AGOA trade relations in the previous regime. And I think at the center of it all, for me, it is exactly what Mr. Rupert have said, the importance of us growing the economy. We have always emphasized when we were here and kept on coming and negotiating on AGOA that the 600 US companies that are based in South Africa, as you said, President Ramaphosa, 500,000 jobs will be wiped out. We need more foreign direct investment in our country. We are not just talking about those that will lose employment, but we are talking about over 40% of people that are unemployed, that have no hope of ever finding a job. And we think that, correctly, as they have said, that we need to deal with the issue of porous borders in our country, so that everyone that comes in is documented. We also need to, and I would have thought that the minister would address the issue of land expropriation and how the policy works in South Africa. Recently, President, as you were preparing to come here on the news, in, I think it was in Natal, there was a handover of farms. And white farmers were saying, we are donating the land, but also there's a willing buyer, willing seller in South Africa. So there is no expropriation without compensation. But it is a willing buyer, willing seller. And that white farmer was even saying, President, that the government is even paying more in buying the land than what the land is worth of. And I think those are the realities, President, that we must say that we need to address, of course, but also the importance of agriculture linked to AGOA. People rely on it, and I think, as Retief have said, for survival and living. But lastly, for me, President, is also the issue of the crime statistics. There is no doubt about it that we are a violent nation, for a number of reasons, and we're not condoning anything. But also, if you go into the rural areas where black majority are, you would see women, elderly, being raped, being killed, being murdered, and these are black elderly women that would be found throat slits, raped multiple times, and all of that. And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And what was the end result? AGOA is back again. Trump is coming to G20. In fact, he's going to own G20. Russia are part of it too, imagine. Zelensky and Putin are going to have a chat. That's what I'm told. We're told, Elon, to bring along Starlink, man, whenever you're ready. And we signed a couple more deals along the way, amounting to 50,000 new jobs. Not bad, hey? I'm sure they're playing golf today. Okay, look, the only bad thing was that Peter the journalist asked a career-limiting question in the Oval Office about jets and Arabs. Trump hit the roof.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One. Perhaps
What are you talking about?
Can we have a South Africa question, please? Mr. President,
the Pentagon spokesperson.
What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing, they also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions.
And on that one, I think we all agreed, everybody in the room and us in South Africa too, is if we had a jet, we would give it to Trump. The Great Reset. We certainly are an extraordinary nation. I'm back in the saddle next week, and we're welcoming 2 new family members, Tai and Chi. 2 more Pekingese are joining the Curry clan. Puppy breath is what I'm going to be using to get through the next few weeks until I can get my potato bass kisses back. I'm Tanya Curry, and Scratching the Surface with me with Acumen Media has been an absolute pleasure with you.